President Trump has been repeatedly talking about Canada as a future 51st state.
I would love to see Canada be the 51st state.
Look, I called him Governor Trudeau because they should be the 51st state, really. It would make a great state, and the people of Canada like it.
Push for advantage, hard. He's very good at that.
So let's talk about Jordan Peterson, shall we? The Canadian psychologist who's made a career out of telling young men to clean their rooms, stand up straight, and now, apparently, roll over when their country's sovereignty is threatened. Recently, Peterson was asked a very straightforward question about Trump's comments regarding Canada becoming the 51st state of America. Now, for context, Trump hasn't just casually mentioned this in passing. He's repeatedly referenced it, imposed massive tariffs on Canadian goods, and has openly talked about renegotiating the actual border treaty from 1908. Trump's gone as far as repeatedly calling Canada the 51st state.
I would love to see Canada be the 51st state.
And referring to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau as a mere governor.
I called him Governor Trudeau because they should be the 51st state.
Not exactly subtle hints about his intentions. This isn't just Trump being Trump. It's a direct threat to Canadian sovereignty. It's calling a nation of 40 million people the 51st state and repeatedly referring to their elected leader as a governor, as if Canada is already under the United States' control. So, how does Canada's most famous public intellectual respond when confronted with this? Let's watch.
What do you make of this, the thing President Trump has been repeatedly talking about Canada as a future 51st state?
That's it. That's the question. Crystal clear, right? What do you make of the President of the United States repeatedly suggesting he might annex your home country? This isn't a trick question, this isn't a gotcha, it's literally asking a Canadian citizen what he thinks about a foreign leader talking about absorbing his nation. Now, keep in mind, Peterson has built his entire brand on standing up for what you believe in, on speaking truth to power. He's famous for his supposed moral courage.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
So surely his response would be principled, direct, and even patriotic, right? Remember, when the tyrannical left told him to use someone's preferred pronouns, he said no way. What's he going to say when someone says, I want your country?
Talking about Canada as a future 51st state. What do you
Well, Trump is preparing to renegotiate a whole series of international agreements.
Oh, we're starting with a euphemism. Renegotiate international agreements. That's a funny way of saying threatening a 25% tariff on everything Canada exports and questioning literal borders between two countries. But please, Jordan, continue.
Trump is preparing to renegotiate a whole series of international agreements, and he's doing what he usually does, which is to push for advantage hard and see what happens.
Okay, so when a foreign leader threatens your country's sovereignty, it's just pushing for advantage. It's just a negotiation tactic.
For advantage, hard.
What advantage exactly, Jordan? America's annual trade deficit with Canada isn't even close to the exaggerated 200 billion figure Trump constantly spews.
We're subsidizing Canada $200 and $250 billion a year. We have massive deficits.
The actual figure is 35.7 billion, down from 40.6 billion just a year back. And even that doesn't represent a loss, because that's not how economics works. Maybe pick up a textbook once in a while, Jordan. Imagine if China said that they were considering making Canada a new Chinese province. Would Peterson be this blasé? Oh, Xi Jinping is just pushing for advantage. That's what he does. Nothing to worry about. You gotta respect it, bucko. Or what if a Democrat president repeatedly called Canada the 51st state and referred to its leader as a mere governor? Peterson would be making hour-long YouTube videos about the authoritarian left and the threat to Western sovereignty. He'd be appearing on every conservative talk show warning about the New World Order. But when it's Trump, suddenly it's just a business strategy.
Push for advantage hard and see what happens. And to establish, what would you say, an anchor that is beyond even what he might hope to achieve, so that he can achieve half of that and be thrilled about it.
So Peterson's admitting Trump is lying. He's saying things he doesn't mean to manipulate the situation. And Peterson is defending this. And don't even get me started on Peterson's repeated defense of Trump's negotiation style. This idea of establishing an anchor.
And to establish, what would you say, an anchor?
You mean like when Trump handed Ukraine to Putin without so much as a whisper of a concession from Russia?
Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning.
I know.
You're not winning this.
Yeah, very impressive negotiation there. Ending a war by simply giving up everything the aggressor wants. Brilliant. Why didn't Churchill think of that? This is the same Peterson who wrote a whole book about telling the truth. The same guy who said, tell the truth or at least don't lie. So truth matters unless you're Donald Trump, in which case lie all you want if it helps you negotiate.
So that he can achieve half of that and be thrilled about it.
And let's be clear here, Peterson is merely assuming that Trump doesn't want to actually annex Canada. Where's the evidence for that? Trump keeps calling Canada the 51st state, keeps referring to its leader as a governor, and Peterson is praising this behaviour. He's literally praising a bullying, violent, tyrannical approach to international relations. Whatever happened to Peterson, the crusader against the Leviathan, the man who claimed to stand against authoritarianism and for the good? What a complete sellout. Turns out, fighting the monster only matters when it's not wearing a red hat.
So that he can achieve half of that and be thrilled about it. He's very good at that.
Name one international negotiation Trump has clearly won. The renegotiated NAFTA. Oh, you mean that incredible, totally new deal that experts widely agree was basically NAFTA with a fresh coat of paint and a new acronym. The one he himself promised was the best deal ever and is now calling horrible. That masterpiece of negotiation.
He's very good at that.
Maybe you mean his trade with China. It devastated American farmers and manufacturers, costing American consumers billions, and achieved virtually none of his stated goals. Tremendous winning, art of the deal, bro. His dealings with North Korea? Complete failure. But hey, a fascist leader wrote him a beautiful letter. So, mission accomplished, I guess.
He wrote me beautiful letters, and they're great letters. We fell in love.
His withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal? Iran accelerated their nuclear program. And let's not forget, again, Ukraine. Trump demanded nothing from the genocidal Vladimir Putin.
You're gambling with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
Yes.
So exactly what evidence does Peterson have that Trump is very good at international negotiation? None. Zero. But he'll say it anyway because the truth doesn't matter when you're kissing the ring.
And I think Trump also floats these propositions as a trial balloon. You know, he's obviously a guy who's willing to see what'll happen. And so he likes to stir the pot.
Stir the pot. That's what we're calling threats to Canadian sovereignty now. Just stirring the pot. Again, imagine any other world leader suggesting they might absorb Canada. Would Peterson dismiss it as just floating a trial balloon?
Trial balloon.
Or stirring the pot?
To stir the pot.
Give me a break. Peterson has repeatedly positioned himself as a defender of Western civilization and its values, but apparently, when those values include respecting international borders and the sovereignty of allied nations, Peterson's moral courage goes out of the window. Let's be crystal clear about what annexing Canada would actually mean. It wouldn't be some peaceful transfer of power. It would inevitably lead to bloody resistance, civil unrest, and potentially armed conflict. It would shatter NATO, fracture the entire Western alliance, and destabilize global security. We're talking about the forcible absorption of a G7 nation with 40 million citizens. And Peterson, apparent defender of order and civilization, is treating it like it's just another episode of The Apprentice.
To stir the pot.
No, he's threatening the foundation of the post-World War II international order that's kept relative peace for 80 years. And Canadians overwhelmingly reject this idea. They're not with Peterson. They think he's a sellout. A recent YouGov survey found 77% of Canadians oppose Canada becoming part of the US, and Angus Reid showed a staggering 90% opposition. Canadians aren't just voicing their opposition in polls, they're taking action. British Columbia removed alcohol from Republican-led states from store shelves, while Ontario and Quebec prioritized domestic manufacturing contracts over American ones. This isn't just political posturing, it's a nation defending its sovereignty. And where is Peterson in all of this? Praising the man making these threats.
So he likes to stir the pot, and he's doing that very effectively at the moment in relationship to Canada and Greenland and Panama and Mexico.
What does doing that very effectively mean here? Effectively threatening Canada, effectively destabilizing international relations, effectively undermining decades of partnership and alliance. And why is this effective? Because it gets headlines, because it scares people, because it gives Trump leverage. Peterson here is not just admiring these bullying tactics, he's openly praising them as effective. He's literally celebrating authoritarianism on the international stage. This is the man who built his entire career warning about the dangers of totalitarianism and tyranny. The same man who claimed to stand against bullies and oppressors. Yet here he is cheering on the ultimate form of international bullying, threatening to erase an entire sovereign nation, his own nation. His hypocrisy isn't just disappointing, it's dangerous and contemptible.